Greetings, my magnificent ones. Sue Paulson here, your magnificence mentor, and welcome back to Tea with Sue. Can you believe it's the first Friday of June? Oh my goodness, where is the year going? It's just flying by. Well, we're having a heat wave here in Alberta, something that's very unusual at this time of year for us. So I'm just kind of basking in all the heat, even though I have no air conditioning in my apartment, just fans blowing. But that's okay because it's different than 4 feet of snow and minus 30 Celsius. So life is good. So today I mulled over what might be a good topic. The last few weeks we've been looking at the roadblocks that seem to get in the way of our magnificence. And I think we've done a pretty good job of covering lots of that. If you've missed those episodes, then just scroll back in the YouTube channel and you'll find them. But today, let's flip the coin over, because we've been talking about resentments, and we've been talking about things, that emotions, particularly negative emotions, that it would be important to feel and then let go so that we can essentially lighten up. That's what lightening up is letting go of the dark, the gloomy, the emotions that don't serve us. So, and cause us to experience pain and suffering and so on. Well, let's flip the coin over and look at what we have readily at our disposal that causes us great delight. So I want to talk about joy today. Now, for lots of years, I looked at joy as kind of a feeling, that exuberance and that sheer thrill of an event or a happening or something that was going on that brought me a great deal of pleasure. And so that was my perspective. And then a few years, lots of years ago now that I think of it, I took a workshop that was all about joy. And it was the most different workshop that I have ever taken, because the focus was not on the feeling of joy, but the idea that we were surrounded by joy everywhere we went. And it was up to us to decide, are we going to participate in that or not? Are we going to allow or surrender to the joy that's readily apparent? So let me take it in adding to that, so that, because I confess I didn't get it at the time. I'm going, well, that seems odd. I don't get that. I didn't understand it. Well, I mulled it over on through the course of this weekend workshop. And the last morning of the workshop, I was up bright and early. It was a retreat. So we were at this lovely lake. And because it was so early in the morning, there was this mist across the lake, and the lake was as still as glass. There wasn't a breath of air moving at all. And gliding on the lake were loons. And I'm just staring in awe, and it washed over me. And I thought, wow, this is joy. And I got to participate in it. And so if you think about it from a creation standpoint, I guess we could say, everything around you is filled with joy. You look at the creation of trees, of birds, of animals, of flowers, of vegetables. There's joy in absolutely every cell of that creation and all those creations, just as there is in every cell of our creation. I mean, that's why we're magnificent. We were created magnificently and out of pure love and pure joy. So it's inherent in us. But of course, in the hustle bustle of life, there are times when we think, oh, life is getting me down. And there's a weight because of the striving and never enough, and I'm never enough, and all of the push to perform, to succeed, to be better than, all of those kinds of things that we might have been surrounded by as we were growing up with and feel compelled to do, and we miss the joy. So how do we miss the joy? Well, I see lots of people going for a walk. But what I notice is, for some people, they're going for a walk and every step looks as if it's sheer torture. I'm going to get my steps in today if it's the last thing I do. And I'm going, oh, okay. And there's a little part of me that feels somewhat guilty. It's a little twinge of guilt because I'm going, wow, I could probably pick up the pace, but I'm not. And so there I am, just strolling along. And when I come to new buds on trees, as there are right now, I stop and I look and I marvel at the growth that I see there. Then I go by 2 different storm lakes and I peer over and say, oh, are there any geese over there or ducks? So I was rewarded when I went for my walk the other day because there's a mama mallard duck and 6 babies, and the ducklings are tiny, and they're just do along the water, and I'm so tickled because I went at the right time and there they were. So that was my reward for going for my walk. So there's joy all around us, in the laughter of children, in the brightness of the colors on buildings, the kids zipping by in their scooters, people walking their dogs. Oh my goodness, there's so much joy. When I went out for a short walk this morning, there were 3 jackrabbits on the lawn close to my place. And they're kind of on alert, okay, who is she and what's she going to do? So I'm just gently talking to them. And they just kind of perched there and then they gently hopped away. Well, then I went down the block and a minute later, I looked back and they're kind of following me. And I'm going, oh, I wonder what they're going to do. So I just stood there. Well, they just hopped right by me and went off into the next laneway. No concerns at all. And I just felt so blessed. I thought, oh, cool. I got to see them up close. And of course, all the colors, because they're brown now. It's summer, so they've turned brown. And how lovely that come the winter, they'll turn white. So it gave me a great deal of joy. So Zig Ziglar once said, it's your attitude that determines your altitude in life. And I'm paraphrasing that. The quote was a little bit longer than that. Well, how true I have found that to be. We have a choice as we go through. We can either, with our attitude of stuckness or worry or fear or all of those things that drag us down, feel and have what I call lower than a snake's belly moments, where we're just kind of slithering along and muck gets in our way and it's not nice. Well, our attitude at that point is matching whatever's going on, or we've allowed our attitude to bring us down to that level. So, of course, we have free will. We have full choice to say, okay, is that serving me? Or, Dr. Phil says, how's that working for you? Well, I don't think it works that well for me. I know that I would much rather revel in the joy that surrounds me and allow myself to go to that. Because when we start from a place of wonderment, of pure delight in everything around us, then not only does it lift our spirits, but vibrationally, it lifts the spirits of everyone that you come in contact with. Now, they've done some interesting studies on muscle response testing, kinesiology, where they wanted to determine how far out does someone's energy field go when they're kind of gloomy and a little bit depressed, versus how far out it goes when they're joyful and happy. And the surge of energy, I was astonished at the distance that people's energy goes when they're thinking happy thoughts or joyful thoughts, as opposed to gloomy thoughts or worrying thoughts. And it's really infectious. Either way, you know, it doesn't matter. I mean, you can infect someone else with your black mood that fast. And if they're aware, they will very quickly say, you know what, I'm out of here. I have other things to do, and off they go. If they're not aware, then they go home feeling pretty gloomy and maybe, you know, kick the dog or something because they're so frustrated and they don't even know why. They didn't start out that way, but somebody else's negative energy just kind of swamped their boat. So when we become aware of the kind of power that we have to experience the joy, to be able to move into that in a really big way and a consistent way, not just, well, I'll take 2 minutes and be joyful and then I'll get on with the serious business of life. Well, I don't know about you, but I've spent far too many years taking myself and taking life so seriously, as if the end of the world was coming, and if I didn't just really grab hold and tough it out, the world would fall apart. Well, the funny thing is, I noticed that anytime I took time off to go golfing, which is something I love to do. I love to be on the golf course in the summertime. And I'm surrounded by nature. And when I hit a good shot, I'm going, yes, I got it. I still got it. And I don't always hit a good shot, but you know, sometimes I do. And I don't fret the ones that stoopy doop shots, I call them. I don't care about those. Those happen. But the good shots, I'm going, yes, all right, I'm queen of the hill here. I'll be able to do that again. Life is good. How many times I've come home to discover on in the days when we had landlines and answering machines attached to the phone, there was business on the answering machine that I hadn't anticipated or expected. And I'm going, all right, not only did I spend 4 or 5 blissful hours on the golf course, just drinking in nature and having the best time, but now I come home and there's going to be more money in the bank. Well, life is good. So think about what brings you joy. Now, if you're a categories kind of person, you could just get organized and put them into categories and say, okay, what people in my life bring me joy? What events bring me joy? What circumstances bring me joy? What about me brings me joy? And you could lump them all into those categories. So I want to challenge you this week to think of at least 5 things that bring you joy, and sit as you experience them, whether you're actually in the moment and experiencing that, or it's a memory of that. Then just allow that to wash over you and really really feel it right to your core. And what you may or may not realize is when you do that, when you feel that delightful feeling deep inside you, your immune system is doing a happy dance. It's going, yes, all right, because the chemicals that we need to heal, to thrive, for our bodies to really regenerate and revitalize are dependent on the feel good that we can glean from life or we can trigger inside ourselves. So let's talk for a second about buttons. So you know that kids, for example, know every one of their parents' not okay buttons, right? They learn early. I watch my granddaughters and they know which button of mommy or daddy's to push to get a reaction out of them. And they just push and they push and they push and they push. Well, so we all have those buttons, and I've worked for quite a few years to try to deactivate those buttons, but I can't say that they're all deactivated yet. But I'm working on it. I keep saying, okay, how badly do I want to have a negative reaction to that particular scenario? But we all have buttons that are the flip side. So we have a joy button, a happiness button, a peaceful button, all those buttons, but maybe they haven't been used and need a little dusting off and pushing now and again. So what is your joy button? When that button gets pushed, what's going on? Did somebody warm your heart by giving you a lovely compliment? Did you receive a gift that was unexpected and very kind of someone? Did you do something kind? Maybe you paid for someone's coffee, the person behind you in line, and it gave you this warm glow and brought you some joy because it was an act of kindness. There's so many things that can trigger that sense of joy and that sense of wonder. Well, isn't it about time we got on with that? Because look around us in our world right now. People have been suffering for the past 2 years with fears and concerns, and in some parts of the world it's escalated into all-out war or battles and so on. So, which is causing more suffering and more concern, and there's plenty of sadness out there, no question. Well, we need to be able to rise above that at some point. And as we've talked in previous weeks, you want to feel the feelings and you want to let them go. You don't want to dwell in the feelings because it's like just dragging a sack of rocks after you day after day, in and out, moment after moment after moment. And you get so burdened by all of those negative things that it's pretty hard to be creative and joyful and prosperous and all those things. So I guess in some ways we're looking for a kind of balance where we take the bad and we have the good to be the counterweight to it, to say, well, okay, yeah, this happened and brought me down, but there's this that can lift me up. So people will say, the singing in church, for example, they say, well, make a joyful noise, which is what singing is, right? It's a joyful noise. Well, singing is a very uplifting way. And when you hear a particularly poignant piece of music, I don't know how violins evoke such emotion, but I'm very joyful when I hear violins, and I'm very joyful when I hear the words to a song that has special meaning for me. So it's those kinds of things that when we fill that part of us up, then the things that can pretty quickly drag us down don't drag us down so often and so much. And then eventually we learn to be more neutral about what happens to us. So for example, a few weeks ago, I had somebody back up into my parked car and put a dent in the fender. And I'm going, uh-oh, damage to my car. Well, there might have been a time in my life when I was just absolutely incensed, like, how could you do that? Didn't you see me? I was right behind you. And what's the matter that you wouldn't look? And I could have, carried on and on. But I looked at it and I said, well, you know what? It's an old car. Now it has a boo-boo on it. And I have a choice whether to fix it or not. And the poor young man that did this, he was so upset and so apologetic and did everything to make this as right as he possibly could. So bless him for that. And I'm thinking, I'm not going to ruin his life any more than he's already feeling badly about what just happened. So we came to an agreement, and I told him, I said, look, I really want to honor you for really seeing this through and communicating with me and doing all of that. And I appreciate that. And then just wished him well, because it's just stuff, it's a vehicle, and it didn't affect its drivability. It wasn't the end of the world for me. I just kind of carried on with my day and did what needed to be done after that. So it was a growth thing for me, that I realized I wasn't attached to the outcome particularly, and I wasn't really attached to having had it happen. Oh, it was a little bit distressing, but more for him than it was for me. And I thought, you know what? If that's the worst thing that's happened in my day, that's not that bad. So it's that, they tell us to roll with the punches. Well, when we roll and get out of the way, then we can move to a different way of being, a different place in time, and say, okay, how can I move myself out of this? So this week, let's add to that joy meter. Let's see if you can fill it way up to the top every day for the next week. And just see what happens. Watch what happens around you when you're bubbling over with joy. Maybe some people will say, what are you so happy about? And you can just say, oh, wouldn't you like to know? Right? You got to tease them a little bit, right? But of course, when they see you so happy, and maybe you make a comment and say, just life is good. Then they go, oh, I wonder how I get some of that. I want what she has. Or he has. So play with it and find that joy button, and just keep pushing it and pushing it and pushing it, and watch what happens. I think you'll be, at the very least, you're going to be more joyful. And at the very most, you might find some astonishing things happen. That's Tea with Sue for this week. Thank you so much for joining me. I just get great delight out of being here every Friday, and I want the best for everyone I come across, because of course, I know how magnificent you are, and I want you to know too. So go take on this glorious weekend coming up, and just be as joyful as you can. You know you can do it. You are that magnificent. If you like these videos, please subscribe to my channel. Give me a little like click there. And you certainly can find out more on my app, The Magnificence Mentor, which is a free download from Google Play or iTunes, the App Store. Wonderful. Enjoy every moment. Enjoy, right? Bye for now.